How's it going, team? Welcome. We have got a nice video from Forces News. It's the Rifles Junior NCO's Carter put the test in the sword lane. So this is them doing sword training, or as others call it, bayonet training. So those within the Rifles who have come from light infantry such as regiments as the Royal Green Jackets, they call a bayonet a sword. But this should be a nice, cool video. I remember when I did bayonet training many times throughout my career. It's tough, it's hard, it's controlled aggression, but it's obviously vital training that you need to do, and it is also really exciting as well. But it's also sometimes, because they get you so hyped up, the way they talk to you, shout at you, get you sort of riled up to switch that aggression on, it does really show you the reality of what you might have to do one day when you go on to operations, okay? It's serious training that needs to be taken seriously. But let's see what Forces News have got for us today. Check out the original video in the description, but let's get into it.
This is Sword Lane. It's a rite of passage for the Rifles, the British Army's largest infantry regiment. It focuses on controlled aggression and has been a tradition for the Rifles for hundreds of years, and it's the only regiment to call it a sword. The rest of the British Army call it a bayonet, and here's why.
Back in the 1800s, during the formation of the Corps of Light Infantry, they were issued smaller weapons, shorter weapons, more accurate, because of their versatility. They were skirmishers, that was their primary role, so that they were issued with a Baker rifle other than the brown bess which the line infantry were issued, and because of the shortness of the weapon they had longer pointy things on the end, and they called them swords. And it's been a tradition that's dragged through the Rifles all the years, and we're the only regiment in the infantry that call them a sword.
And I love how they keep that. I'm a big one for keeping traditions, and it's your heritage, it's the history of the regiment and the blokes and what they've done in the past and what they're going to do in the future. So the fact they still get the same weapon, they still get a bayonet, it's exactly the same, but they call it a sword. They keep that tradition, they keep that regiment alive.
Army recruits carry out a similar challenge during basic training at Catterick, but here it's part of the One Rifles Junior Non-Commissioned Officer Cadre. Is a course for riflemen who are going for their first promotion to become a Lance Corporal.
So the Rifles run individual regimental junior NCO cadres, and it's kind of a rite of passage on NCO cadre for our students to do a sword lane. Back in Catterick they go through different platoons now, so they're not always Rifles held platoons, so they may go through with a different battalion or a different regiment. So on a junior NCO card, it's a chance to get all of our Rifle students together to conduct a sword lane because it's a Rifles tradition.
Sword lane usually takes place after soldiers have carried out strenuous physical activity on very little sleep. And it all starts with a demonstration of how to use the sword.
Morning, troop. Morning, sir. Welcome to the sword lane. Again! Hold guard! High four! High four! Again! Hold guard! High four! Get sword! What's your job? To kill the enemy, Corporal! You've been disconnected from your platoon. You'll fight your way back to the joint standing. Yes, Corporal! On me, let's go!
On the brink of exhaustion, the soldiers are put into a scenario where they are isolated from their comrades and must use their swords to defeat the enemy in order to survive.
High forward! Get forward! Let's go in bounds. 10 metres, let's go!
Honestly, it's an absolute lick. You are fucked after it. Like you do, like they do, you do sort of physical training before it. They exhaust you, they tire you out, because they want to see that in those moments you can switch on that aggression. And people, most probably, there's some people that might watch this and go, oh my God, that's a bit aggressive. The way that corporal was just screaming in his face. But that is the infantry's job. Their main role, okay? They are the fighting troops to close in and kill the enemy. That's what they go and do. And that this is the reality of it. It's happened in Iraq. I believe it's happened in Afghanistan. infantry and anyone who's attached, they've been so close to the enemy that the commander has gone, fix bayonets, or in the rifles, they would have said fix swords. This is the reality of it. So if you look into join the infantry, you will have to go through this, and that is your job. And they really do try and get you riled up. You'll be shouting, what makes the grass grow, blood, etc. What is the main job of the infantry? To kill, close in and kill. That is their job role. This is the reality of it. But like I said, it's exhausting. It's extremely tiring. It's very aggressive, but it is also very exciting. But it's also eye-opening to think that one day that dummy or sandbag, normally a sandbag or something that they've put out for you, you may have to close in. You may have to thrust your weapon with the bayonet or sword attached to it into that. I like where they're doing this as well, though. Brilliant terrain, brilliant environment.
It's a rite of passage, so they do it because they say they can. We expect them to go that extra mile to find that last 10% inside them and push themselves all the way through to the end without quitting.
Exactly that. They're exhausted, but can you keep going?
But for these soldiers, the carder continues. Barney Williams, the FBS Forces News.
The bugle. That is the reality of it, and this is what our soldiers are trained to do. This is obviously what our infantry are trained to do, but it's not just the infantry do it. If you go through Purbright, if you go through Harrogate, you will do this as well. It's part of your basic training. It's the basic skills that you need to know. Soldier first, trade second, because at the end of the day, at some point, no matter if something really kicks off, and it has done, it's not just the infantry sort of pointing the weapons and fighting. It could be all sorts of cat badges that could be involved in that. So you all need to be able to do this. At one point, you may have to use it. But really good video. Really enjoyed that. The JNCO carder. So this is rifles looking to get their Lance Corporals. One of the toughest courses you can do when it sort of comes to infantry. They really push you. You're going from a private, and then you're taking that step up. It's the first time you're taking a step up and learning a leadership role, and to show and prove that you can take command. You can be that 2IC. But what people don't know is in the army, you always need to know you're one above as well. So when you get promoted to Lance Corporal, it's the hardest one to get, the easiest one to lose. When you're a 2IC, you still need to know your section commander's job, because if they go down, you're the 2IC, you're stepping up. So you always know what up. So if you're section commander, you'll sort of know what the platoon sergeant does, because if he goes down, one of the section commanders will have to step up. Platoon commander goes down, platoon sergeant steps up. That's the way it works. But my experiences of bayonet training, sword training, as the rifles call it, howling, absolutely disgusting. Did it many, many times. They really, really do pre-exhaust you. The first time I ever experienced it was Barry Budden, I think, up in Scotland. The camp is where you go away and you do a battle camp for a week throughout Army Foundation College, Harrogate. You're thrashed all week anyway. It's live firing. You get minimal sleep. You have to run everywhere. We then did bayonet training, and it was howling. I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? But at the end of it, it's a really good feeling, but it's also, like I said, an eye-opener, because one day you may have to do this. People have had to do this throughout the history of the British Army and other nations around the world. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.